There is a woman in Kyoto who, despite her professional success and fierce self-reliance, understands a secret that the modern hyper-independent mind has buried under layers of armor: the art of Amae. In the West, we have been taught that needing anyone is a weakness, a crack in our armor, a failure of sovereignty. We treat our own nervous system like a fortified bunker, keeping the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, in a state of permanent high alert. We call this independence, but the body calls it survival. It is an exhausting, hyper-vigilant existence that leaves your cortisol levels chronically high and your heart rate variability shattered. You are tired because you are defending a fortress that has no one inside but you. But in Japan, Amae is not about being helpless. It is about the radical physiological safety found in healthy, controlled dependence. Habit 1 is Amae microdosing. You don't need to surrender your life to your partner. You simply need to practice the biology of vulnerability. Take one tiny, low-stakes task, carrying a heavy bag, making a simple decision, or asking for help with a minor chore, and delegate it to your partner. Physiologically, this act is a miracle. It triggers your paraventricular nucleus to synthesize oxytocin. This oxytocin immediately blocks synaptic transmission in the central amygdala, effectively shutting down the production of corticotropin-releasing hormones, CRH, and ACTH. In plain terms, you are chemically turning off your own alarm system. You are replacing the harsh, jagged stress of, "I must do this alone," with the fluid, stabilizing presence of a bonded pair. It acts as a behavioral exposure therapy, neutralizing the ambient guilt of feeling weak that has haunted hyper-independent people for years. You are actively dismantling the Zeigarnik effect, the lingering cognitive itch of unfinished tasks, by realizing that you are part of a team. By asking for this small favor, you are teaching your nervous system that you are not alone in the void. You are lowering the cognitive friction of your day, proving to your own brain that it is safe to relinquish control. Habit 2 is the Seijaku ritual in presence. Most of us start the day in a frantic blur, grabbing coffee, checking phones, and treating our partner as a ghost in the kitchen. We are stuck in dopamine stacking, where our brains are flooded with fake rewards, while we ignore the human being standing 2 feet away. We are exhausted by decision fatigue, the endless, grinding process of making thousands of micro-choices from the moment we open our eyes. Instead, try the Japanese practice of Seijaku, sharing a glass of warm water, 50 to 60 degrees Celsius, with your partner in silence. This warmth is not just for digestion. When you drink warm water, you stimulate the vagus nerve in the stomach, which sends a direct signal to the nucleus of the solitary tract in your brainstem. This triggers a massive parasympathetic response via acetylcholine. Your heart rate slows, your muscles loosen. By doing this with your partner, you are co-regulating. You are not doing work or discussing chores. You are simply existing in a shared physiological state of safety. It creates a cognitive presence that bypasses the friction of words. You are finally, after a long day of hypervigilance, allowing your nervous system to sink into the anchor of someone else's stability. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate luxury of being human. You are choosing to be grounded, together, in the quiet truth that you do not have to carry the entire world on your shoulders alone. The hyper-independent mind is a fortress under siege. We associate intimacy with the loss of sovereignty. To the high-functioning, autonomous individual, The presence of a partner feels like a sensory intrusion, an encroachment on our precious operational memory that we have spent a lifetime protecting. We believe that to remain whole, we must remain in constant, total control of our environment. But this is the path to terminal exhaustion. The second secret of the Japanese relational paradigm is Ma, the concept of intentional, structured emptiness. It is the recognition that the space between two people is just as important as the connection itself. By integrating Ma and Seijaku, active silence, into your relationship, you stop treating your partner as a cognitive competitor and start treating the relationship as a shared sanctuary that protects your prefrontal cortex from the burnout of perpetual alertness. Habit 3 is the Ma pause in communication. We have all experienced the flooding response. A minor disagreement occurs, your partner says something that challenges your logic, and suddenly, your locus coeruleus, the blue spot in the brain, releases a flood of norepinephrine. Your prefrontal cortex, the seat of your empathy and rational thought, effectively goes offline. You are now being driven by the limbic system, the reptilian defensive brain. You stop listening and start winning. You are experiencing cognitive friction, and your instinct is to bulldoze through it with a rapid-fire rebuttal. The Japanese approach to Ma is the radical introduction of a 3 to 5 second pause before you reply. This is not just waiting your turn, it is a neurological circuit breaker. These few seconds of silence allow the norepinephrine surge to dissipate, giving your prefrontal cortex enough time to regain command over your amygdala. By choosing Ma over immediate reaction, you are preventing the flooding that destroys empathy. You are refusing to feed the dopamine-driven desire to win the argument, because you understand that winning a fight at the cost of your partner's nervous system is a net loss for the entire relationship. You are preventing the accumulation of micro-resentments, those tiny, jagged edges of unsaid feelings that, according to the Zeigarnik effect, will continue to haunt your subconscious and drain your energy long after the fight is over. Habit 4 is Seijaku, the practice of shared sensory fasting. In the West, we suffer from the entertainment mandate. We believe that to be connected, we must constantly consume content together: Netflix, podcasts, social media, or endless nervous conversation. We are terrified of the silence because we interpret it as a lack of engagement. But this is a dopamine-draining nightmare. Your brain is trapped in a loop of processing external information, never truly entering the default mode network, DMN, the state where your brain actually repairs its neural pathways, clears metabolic waste through the glymphatic system, and stabilizes your emotional core. When you force your partner to become a constant source of external stimuli, you are increasing your decision fatigue exponentially. You are not hanging out. You are working to maintain a performance of a relationship. Seijaku is the antidote. It is the act of sitting in the same room with your partner in absolute intentional silence, free from all screens and gadgets. It is not talking. It is being present without the labor of stimulation. When the constant sensory noise is deactivated, the salience network, the part of the brain that constantly scans for what do I need to attend to next, finally switches off. Your brain stops categorizing your partner as an input that needs a response. You are finally resting in the presence of the other, not performing for them. This creates a profound sense of safety. You are no longer distracted by each other. You are grounded by each other. You will find that this practice reduces your background anxiety, lowers your heart rate, and restores the sensitivity of your neural pathways. You stop feeling tired of people because you've stopped paying the daily tax of constant stimulation. You have finally found the courage to be quiet, side by side, without the frantic, desperate need to fill the air with noise. The hyper-independent mind is often a mind that never truly descends. You spend your day in a state of high-octane autonomy, and when the sun sets, your nervous system is stuck in the daytime gear of high catecholamines and vigilant control. You try to jump into bed, hoping your brain will simply turn off, but it doesn't work that way. The biochemical momentum of your day is too strong. The third secret of Japanese relationship longevity is the somatic bridge, using the body's biology to bypass the mind's need for control. We are talking about the deliberate transition from the defensive posture of the independent individual to the vulnerable posture of the connected partner. This is not just relaxing. This is a systemic reset of your hormonal profile. Habit 5 is the nightly Ofuro, the ritual of the deep hydrothermal reset. We in the West treat the evening shower as a chore, a 5-minute sprint to get clean so we can collapse into bed. In Japan, the bath is a neurobiological instrument. You soak in water between 40 and 42 degrees Celsius. This induces profound peripheral vasodilation. The blood rushes to your skin, pulling the heat out of your core. The moment you step out of that bath, your body temperature begins a sharp, natural decline. This cooling is the most potent biological trigger for the suprachiasmatic nucleus to initiate a massive, coordinated surge of melatonin. When you and your partner do this together, or even just share the intent of this nightly ritual, you are synchronizing your circadian profiles. You are both moving into the same biological frequency. As your body temperatures drop in unison, you optimize the nighttime secretion of somatotropin, the growth hormone that is responsible for cellular repair and deep cognitive recovery. You are moving from a state of individual defense into a state of shared biological restoration. You aren't just getting clean. You are dissolving the armor of control that your body carries all day. Habit 6 is the Fukutsudzi decompression. If you are a hyper-independent person, your body has a shape. It is a shape of defense. Your shoulders are rolled forward, your chest is slightly collapsed to protect your heart, and your diaphragm is restricted, locking your breathing into the shallow upper chest rhythm of a person always ready to bolt. This somatic posture sends a continuous, non-stop signal to your brain. I am in danger. Stay alert. You cannot simply think your way out of this armor. You have to physically open the cage. By spending 5 minutes lying on a firm towel roll under your lumbar and upper back, you are mechanically decompressing the spine and stretching the intercostal muscles. This physical expansion releases the pressure on the diaphragm, which in turn frees the stem of the vagus nerve. When the vagus nerve is finally uncompressed, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, lowering your heart rate and flooding your brain with signals of safety. The philosophy here is simple. You cannot experience true intimacy if your body is literally postured for a fight. When you lie on the roll, you are sending a proprioceptive signal to your partner and to your own brain that you have laid down your weapons. It is the most honest thing a hyper-independent person can do. You are not doing a stretch. You are signaling a surrender of the day's burdens. By releasing the physical compression, you are lowering the barriers to connection. You are shifting from a posture of, I am holding everything together, to, I am ready to be supported. This creates a shared vulnerability that no conversation can replicate. When you and your partner both decompress this way, you are not just two people lying on the floor. You are two people whose nervous systems have finally stopped screaming for more autonomy and started signaling for mutual peace. You have stripped away the physical evidence of your stress, and in that vacuum of tension, intimacy can finally naturally grow. For the hyper-independent individual, food is often treated as a fuel station, a frantic, distracted necessity to be managed as quickly as possible. We graze, we snack, we eat in front of screens, and we ignore the deep biological rhythm of digestion. We treat our own metabolism as an annoyance, an interruption to our pursuit of productivity. But here is the brutal truth. The emotional volatility that leads you to pull away from your partner, the sudden irritability, the fog that makes communication feel like a chore, these are often not relationship problems. They are chemical consequences of a dysregulated insulin cycle. When your blood sugar crashes, your brain perceives it as a genuine survival threat, triggering the release of adrenaline and cortisol. You then project this internal chaos onto your partner, interpreting your own chemical turbulence as a sign that this relationship isn't working. The fourth secret is the restoration of metabolic stability through the Japanese protocol of Tabekata. Habit 7 is Tabekata, the precise choreography of the meal. In the West, we eat in a chaotic heap, throwing carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into the stomach in a messy, disorganized mass. This forces the pancreas to fire a desperate, oversized insulin response, leading to a blood sugar spike that is inevitably followed by a crash. This crash is a stress event. It is the moment you become cranky, impatient, and disconnected. The Japanese way is the fiber-first sequence. You start your meal with the greens and vegetables, building a viscous, protective mesh in your gut that acts as a glucose filter. Then you consume the protein and fats, and only at the very end do you eat the carbohydrates. This sequence ensures a steady, slow, and graceful release of energy. Your insulin levels stay stable, your mood remains even, and your nervous system stays anchored in a state of calm. When you and your partner eat this way, you aren't just nourishing your bodies. You are maintaining a shared emotional baseline. You stop the roller coaster of blood sugar highs and lows that cause so many unnecessary chemistry-driven arguments. You are choosing to keep your partner's nervous system and your own in a zone of metabolic safety. Habit 8 is jisoku, the practice of eating in digital silence. We have developed a toxic dependency on dopamine stacking, where we must be distracted by a podcast, a video, or a scrolling feed every time we put food in our mouths. We think we are saving time, but we are actually desensitizing our dopamine receptors. By constantly forcing our brains to process digital noise while we eat, we are killing the body's natural ability to recognize satiety. Your brain stops listening to the "I am satisfied" signal from your gut, and instead it becomes addicted to the external stimulation of the screen. You finish the meal feeling stuffed but empty, your mind drained by the digital input, and your heart starved of the human connection that food is supposed to facilitate. Jisoku teaches us the contentment of enough. It is the act of sitting with your partner, looking at the food, and engaging in the simple, profound act of eating without the digital buffer. This is a radical, almost subversive act of self-care. It allows your brain to correctly interpret the chemical signals of satiety. It protects your D2 dopamine receptors from being overwhelmed by artificial noise. More importantly, It forces you to face the person across from you. If you cannot sit in silence with your partner for 20 minutes, you are not truly connected. You are just two people using the same digital crutch to avoid being present. By practicing Jisoku, you are stripping away the friction of the digital world. You are finally, after a long day of hyper-independence, allowing yourself the vulnerability of simply being seen, in silence, over a meal that actually nourishes you. You are restoring the metabolic and emotional stability that allows a relationship to flourish rather than merely survive. We have reached the final stage of our transformation. For the hyper-independent mind, the most painful experience in life is a rupture, a fight, a misunderstanding, a failure in the relationship. We perceive these cracks as fatal flaws. We treat them like broken glass, believing that once a connection is fractured, it is compromised, damaged, and ultimately unworthy of our energy. We are quick to pull away, to retreat into the safety of our solitude, and to discard the relationship rather than risk the shame of a repair. We treat our emotional history like a trash heap, constantly trying to outrun the pain of our past mistakes. But this is the final fatal lie. The Japanese philosophy of Kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with veins of gold, teaches us that a fracture is not a finish line. It is the beginning of a stronger, more beautiful history. The fifth secret is the radical acceptance of imperfection as a structural strength. Habit 9 is the energetic limit of Mottai-nai. We often treat our own emotional energy as a cheap, disposable commodity. During a conflict, the hyper-independent brain goes into a paranoid overdrive, analyzing every word, obsessing over the micro-signals of the partner, and wasting massive amounts of precious mental fuel on predicting a catastrophic outcome. You are hemorrhaging your metabolic reserves, literally draining the glucose from your prefrontal cortex to feed a defense system that is based on fear, not fact. Mottai-nai is the deep, visceral regret for wasting that which is valuable. Your cognitive energy is the most precious resource you possess. The shift. Consciously set a mental budget for conflict. When a disagreement occurs, refuse to waste your brain's precious fuel on what-if scenarios. Stop the paranoia before it becomes a metabolic drain. Treat your peace of mind as a finite, sacred asset that is too valuable to be wasted on the projections of a fearful mind. By refusing to spend your energy on catastrophic thinking, you keep your nervous system in a state of flexibility rather than brittle defensiveness. Habit 10 is the Kintsugi ritual. This is the practice of consciously reevaluating the cracks in your relationship, not as indicators of failure, but as the gold-veined proof of your commitment to growth. Every hyper-independent person has a graveyard of unresolved files, the zygarnic ghosts of past arguments and personal wounds that they carry like heavy, invisible lead. You think that by ignoring them, you are protecting yourself. In reality, you are leaving these threats active, forcing your brain to keep its somatic defenses raised 24/7. Kintsugi is the process of taking those specific memories, the moments where you felt vulnerable, hurt, or disappointed, and consciously reframing them. You stop seeing the fracture, and you start seeing the gold of the experience you gained. When you sit down and look at a past failure with your partner, and you choose to speak about it with honesty rather than avoidance, you are performing a neurobiological miracle. You are activating the link between your VMPFC, the part of the brain that manages complex social emotions, and your amygdala. You are physically rewiring your brain's defensive response to that memory. You are deactivating the alarm and replacing it with an archive of wisdom. The shift. Stop discarding your history. Instead, repair it with the gold of your present-day maturity. By integrating these past fractures, you dissolve the cognitive friction that has been slowing you down for years. You finally become a person who can trust, not because you are naive, but because you have seen the cracks and you have repaired them. This is your final catharsis. Look at the path we have walked through these 10 secrets. You have learned that independence is not the absence of others, but the presence of a regulated, stable, and truly autonomous nervous system. You have learned to regulate through Amae, to find sanctuary in Ma, to synchronize through the body's wisdom, to stabilize through Tabekata, and to heal through Kintsugi. You are no longer the prisoner of your own armor. You are no longer the guardian of a fortress that isolates you from the very thing that makes life worth living: deep, unwavering human connection. You don't need a perfect relationship. You need a regulated, intentional, and forgiving one. Tonight, don't run from the next uncomfortable moment. Don't hide behind the screen, and don't retreat into your solitude. Bring your partner into the fold. Practice the silence, share the warmth, and look at your shared history with the eyes of an artist who sees the gold in the cracks. You are not losing your independence. You are gaining a partner. And in that exchange, you will find a version of yourself that is more vibrant, more focused, and more deeply at peace than you ever thought possible. You are one gold-veined conversation away from a life that is truly yours to share. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.